Alright, so we're here checking out your assignment 9 turn-in with your lighting setup. You've got all of the lights that you need present in the scene right now, but if we come and check out your camera here and we render this, you'll notice that everything is very, very dark and difficult to see. Okay, so your lights are not quite set up ideally, alright? I'm going to go back to the perspective camera now so we can move around again. First, just right off the bat, it's really dark, right? Let's use our point light here, okay? And we can just, this is our fill light, by the way, alright? This point light is generally used just to fill in all the dark spaces here and just give more light to the scene in general. This is our key light, this spotlight that's shining pretty directly on, whatever's going on in the scene, and then this, I'm assuming, is our backlight, which is lighting the scene from behind, okay? So we'll grab our point light, which is our fill light, and the fill light is going to be emitting quite a bit of light. This is what's lighting up, kind of everything in the scene. So I'm going to brighten that up. Just another really great thing that you can use, a great tool when you're working on lighting. And just before I mention this, I'm going to tell you that if your computer is old or pretty slow, you don't want to use this because it could cause your computer to run really slowly, or it could cause Maya to crash, okay? But if you're running on a more recent machine, you can use this little button right here, okay, called Use All Lights. If you just click on that, you can suddenly see what your lighting looks like without having to render. Okay, so now I can see actually what's happening. Whereas before, we couldn't really see what was going on. It all looks the same no matter what we do with the lights. This way, with this little button, we can see how we're affecting the scene with our lights, okay? So I've got the point light. I'm going to turn it up, maybe about to there. I'm going to turn up the key light, this spotlight, as well, so that we can really bring out our objects here, okay? Now, cool thing with spotlights is this penumbra angle right here, okay? You can see this is a very stark outline of this light here. And usually light doesn't quite make this clean of a line, alright? There'll be a little bit of diffusion right along these edges here, and with penumbra angle, we can kind of recreate that, okay? Just the way that light pools. And, you can see we can do it inwards like this, or outwards like this, depending on how we slide that slider, okay? So I'm going to leave it right about there. So already our lighting is looking a little better. We can see what's happening a little more, okay? The last thing that's really important is that we're actually not getting any backlight at all in this scene, and the reason is because our backlight, although it is placed behind our scene here, is actually pointing in the wrong direction. So if you take a look, this is a directional light, alright? Directional light, it doesn't matter where you place it in the scene. It doesn't matter if it's here, if it's, anywhere at all. Directional lights will shine equally on every single part of this scene, no matter how big it is, alright? And no matter where the light is placed, and it will shine everywhere equally, okay? So this is emulating, for the most part, something like the sun, which just kind of is just this huge light that shines everywhere, alright? So the only thing that matters for directional light is rotation, okay? So which way is it pointing? And you can see which way it's pointing by these little arrows here, okay? So this light is pointing up that way, alright? And if you can kind of imagine, it would look something like this. Imagine how that's shining. That's shining on the underside of this checkerboard, okay? So basically we have a light that's only shining underneath here. Anything that is up above this checkerboard is being shadowed by that, okay? By that checkerboard, all right. So we're shining it underneath the checkerboard. Nothing above it is getting any light because the checkerboard is blocking the light, okay? And all we get is shadow there. So this light is essentially lighting up nothing but the underside of this checkerboard, right? Which, you know, obviously we're not going to look at. So that's just not what we want. We want this instead to light up the scene here from behind, okay, and fill up some of this really dark stuff that is not being lit by our fill light or our key light, alright? So again, with this particular type of light, it doesn't matter where you place it. If this were any other kind of light, we would want to place it kind of behind and above the scene, just like you had it before, okay? But again, for this kind of light, we don't actually need to do that, but we'll just put it there just for reference. So let's deal with the rotation. Obviously, we want this to be shining on our scene. So as I point this downwards towards the scene, you can see it lighting up. You can see if I point it up, it's shining up from underneath, and there's no light. So as I point it down, we can change that angle where the light is coming from. Alright, so I'm going to do something, well, let's see. Let's try something, maybe like that, okay? And you can adjust this as well. I'm going to go back to my camera 1 view. And you can see how adjusting the angle will affect this differently, okay? So you can kind of take the guesswork out of it. You'll do that kind of thing. And let's go ahead and render it now, alright? We'll go back to my camera here. And we'll render that. So you can see now we're getting a lot more brightened scene, alright? We can really see a lot of what's going on. Now, another problem that you might notice is that the light that's casting shadows right now is actually our directional light over here, okay? And because it's a backlight, I mean, this can work if you're trying to do a really heavily backlit scene, but since our backlighting is actually pretty light in this case, I would say that it's probably going to make more sense for our shadows to be coming from our key light, okay? Which is our spotlight. Alright? So, let's turn off the shadows on our directional light. Alright? We'll come to shadows here. And we can just turn off use ray trace shadows. So no more shadows coming out this way. And we'll grab our key light here, which is shining down on our objects, right? And we'll come to shadows, and we'll turn on these ray trace shadows, okay? So let's try that again. Camera 1, we'll render this once more. So now we have shadows back here, okay? So it's a little more natural looking to have those shadows back there. You know, it's maybe a little bright now with the scene on the checkerboard, but you get the idea of how this works and how you can play with this these different lighting settings to really create a dynamic lighting solution, okay? So let me know if you have any questions about anything that we went over today. Thanks for watching, and happy modeling!